little bit.
Okay. Nice. What's up? Good morning. This is Awaken with Mark. I'm Josiah, Daniel, Mom, Dad, and well, on playback you'll see we're just saying good morning. We're waiting for everybody to come in. But good morning from Zanzibar. We're here to talk about They Cloned Tyrone. Newest cult classic with who we got in it. We've got Jamie Foxx, John Boyega,
Right.
Teyana Paris.
Sutherland, I forget his first name, but one of the Sutherlands.
Kiefer-
TV show from 24. Yeah,
Kiefer
Keith
Sutherland?
Sutherland, yes.
Yes, we got our first like. Good morning. We're just waiting for people to come in and everything. Happy Friday morning to everybody. We got 2 people on. We do my due diligence. Go ahead, Dad.
How does our volume sound? We'll start with myself and then go around to Marlene. Hello, how are you? This is Mark.
Glad that you're here to join in and see what we have to talk about.
Hello. How are you doing this morning? You say hey, all the way from East Africa.
Yep. Hey, and it's Josiah again. Yes. How do I sound? How do we sound on our microphones?
Give us a thumbs up if we sound okay, or a 1. If we don't sound good, give us a 0.
And so we're waiting on people to come in before we launch in, but we've got a couple of commercial breaks that we'll talk about here, and we'll recap again in the middle of the live. But can you type in the comments? Again, good morning from Zanzibar. It's been a while since we did a live. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from in the world?
Donna says volume is fine.
Thank you, Donna.
Good,
Thank
good.
you. Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, where are you watching from again, Donna? I feel like you've watched with us before and given us a little bit of chatter. But if not, welcome. And then, Dad, we've got a couple commercial breaks. What do we have upcoming?
Before I even hit the upcoming, usually we're doing sunset lives.
Yeah.
And today we are sitting at this nice table that a carpenter made for us and these chairs. And we chose to do that because there's less wind to fight with, because we were on top of a building. And so we decided to get the sound better, we would sit indoors and take advantage of that. And we don't have the air conditioning on yet, but we have a fan on, and we may turn the air conditioning on. Be interesting to know what the temperature is wherever the persons are also.
Also, the internet connection is better for us here because up on the roof it was difficult trying to maintain a good connection and go live. So here we are dedicated right in the house.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Josiah, about upcoming things, so we have scheduled for next week a couple of videos, and they are from an interview that Marlene and I had done. It's of a lady named Jackie. She's black. She is a U.S. citizen, but she was born in Ghana, and she had a dream of building a school. So she talks about that dream, and she goes through the challenges that she had to face from really trying to decide what's needed, what the need is, doing market research, getting her family on board. She talks about what it's like dealing with 77 first cousins.
Wow.
She even goes, and this is a multi-series video. She'll also go into actually purchasing land, which we're not going to reveal anything, but I will say this, it's very similar to Tanzania, Zanzibar, purchasing land. I'm not saying all African countries are alike, I'm just saying it was extremely similar. So some friends of ours have purchased land here, and I think they would have benefited from hearing this. So
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Very good.
yeah,
Very good.
those are some of the things coming up. Let's see here.
Oh, and then we have we've been doing some traveling, so we got some tourism videos coming up, checking out places like Stonetown, Paje, places like that. So we won't say too much, but just be on the lookout. We've got some shopping and just some things that we've been doing. I've just been busy, but we're putting those videos together. Can't wait to share them. And also, if you are interested in one-on-one consultations with us, you'll find the contact information in the description. It's our email, awakenwithmark@gmail.com. But if you're interested in our experience living abroad and how that could be paired with you and your plans to move abroad, and especially if it's specific to Africa or the East African region like us, reach out to us in our email, awakenwithmark@gmail.com. It's in the description. We look forward to chatting with you, and we hope we can help you out.
Yeah. T's Real says, hello, family.
Hey, T's Real.
Hey,
What's up?
T's Real.
Where are you watching from again? And we'll get ready to dive in to the conspiracy.
Charlotte,
Charlotte.
that's S. Renee Heath in North Carolina.
Hey.
Hey.
That's good.
Erlene Beeman. Hey, my favorite YouTube fan. Good morning.
Good morning to
Morning.
you all.
Asante. That means thank you, Swahili. Also, Karibu, everybody. Karibu, just welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, we gotta have you guys practice in your
yeah,
Swahili.
our
Throw it in
Swahili.
there every so often.
Good.
Yeah. I guess for you guys, habari asubuhi. That's good morning, or how goes the morning news.
How goes the morning? Yeah.
Yeah.
How is morning?
But for us, it's evening. Yeah, it's evening, so it would be habari jioni, good evening. In a couple hours, it'll be usiku, like good night or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Because it's, what time is it now?
A little after 6 p.m. our time.
Yeah.
A little after.
And speaking of which, the sun is still high in the sky,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact.
I think it'll set at what? Maybe 6:30? Maybe
Been
something
around
like
there.
that.
6:20.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's what? Is it 11 or 12 in
Mhm.
Swahili times 12?
Oh, you said at 7?
It's 6.
I think
right
it's
now.
heading towards 11.
It's heading there.
Because I went to, for you all's benefit, I think my answer to Daniel's question is 11 because I went to go get pizza, and the person at the pizza station, she forces us to speak Swahili,
Yeah.
and not that mine
Yeah.
is very good. And the times in Swahili are totally shifted different.
Yeah.
So I was wanting the pizza like maybe 4:30 or 5 our time, and she looked at me and said, "Oh, 11:30," and then she just smiled and said PM. I was like, "No, I'm not coming tonight."
Right.
She just kept looking at me,
Yeah.
until I got it.
That was at 5, so if it's 6 now, that is Sita. Yes, Sita. Oh no, I'm still sorry. Kumina Mbili.
It's a Kuminambili. So that's
So- It's like 12 afternoon. Am I saying
12.
that? Right?
It's Kumina
Say
Mbili Gioni. It's
Yes.
yeah. I
Yes.
think
Because
that's
it's evening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Kumi is 10. Mbili is 2. So they do it literal, addition 10 plus 2. It's 12 in Swahili time.
We just want to say hi to some folks who just said hello to us. I'm not going to mention their name, but I will mention their alias, which people wonder are we eating a lot of Swahili food? Are we eating American food? Well, let me tell you, where there's smoke, there's fire. And we have had some excellent smokehouse barbecue, brisket, and so forth. Chief's Smokehouse, fabulous.
What's up, Chiefs?
In the house, and representing. I mean, the mere fact that they won all those Super Bowls is beside the point. But go
Actually.
AFC. Anyway, so you're talking smoked brisket, smoked turkey leg, smoked
Oh.
tuna sandwich I had one time,
Really
tuna
good.
wrap.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, and of course hamburgers, big old
Mhm.
sausages. So let me pause because we haven't eaten our pizza yet, but let it stop there.
Yes.
cool.
But we do Swahili food. We
Yes,
have
we
had,
Yes.
with Swahili, can't always remember all the names. Pilau, rice, it's like a rice with different seasoning meats, and it's really, really
Mhm.
good. And the way they do their meats is a little different. Seasonings are, of course, even though this is a spice capital, a lot of spices are different, but it's really, really good. So,
Mhm.
yes, we have been venturing into that. As we do more of these, we'll be able to say more of what they are, so, in Swahili, so.
We have a question from
Mhm.
Erlene. Speaking of foods, Did you have problems with digestion at first with the change in food and how they are prepared? Not here. Not here. I think we've covered it in previous videos. We did have some challenges in Rwanda. Things were a little bit different there, but so far here, it's been almost a year.
Yeah.
In Zanzibar, very few issues. Some of that through the things we suffered, because we're smarter now, so we go about things differently. Anything y'all want to add?
Yeah, I still recall a video that Go Black to Africa did of a young lady who is, a doctor in Tanzania, and she talked about how it just takes a while for your stomach to adjust, and that's just a normal process. So I'm glad that Erlene had put it that way, because it's just a natural process, process on how you, for the bacteria to change up.
That's right.
But I agree with what you had said, Josiah. Being down here,
No, we've been fine.
nah, it's been fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, I've here and there, but I've had a little stomach situation, but it's like months in between these huge gaps, so it's like I would forget. But for the most part, much better here. It might be also because we're getting used to the foods in Kigali. Yeah, so it's easier now. But it is guaranteed that you will go through that as your stomach has to get used to the changes here. That's natural, that's normal.
You have to be able to adjust. Did we get the shells along the Indian Ocean? Yes, we did.
Yes.
Mom?
You wanna hold that one up?
Yes, yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did. There are just so many of them. When you're walking out there, the water comes through. It's like we've gone to various beaches, and I have to bring a bag because I just get so many. But yes, they're all different types, sizes, and really nice. Yes. So we're kind of putting them around the house and outside in pots and stuff. So.
They really are just everywhere. So
Yeah, they had so many, it was filling up a bucket at one point, because y'all would just keep, there's so many beautiful shells, so you have an overabundance, actually, amount of shells in the house, which is a nice thing to have.
yeah.
But you gotta be careful, because I think one of them got up and walked away
Yes.
Yes.
one time.
Yeah. The
Yes.
crustaceans or
Yeah.
mussel, whatever they are, you do have to
They
look
hide
as
in
best
there.
you can, give them some time. So anyway, thank you all for the questions, and again, good morning. I'm glad that you think they're beautiful and got a good laugh out of that. Y'all ready to die?
I didn't do the commercial on the fact that we're going to be offering and have offered consultations, courses,
Yes.
and so those, we've been posting things on our community page with regards to those things. We'll also have, we already have the free offering. We're trying to polish it up right now. That's a ready assessment, to assess yourself to see how ready you are. And because you all are early, I'll just go ahead and mention this to you. A lot of people want to focus on the technical things, which is the outlets and the power voltage and their driver's license. But what they fail to think about is they are switching from one culture to another. And as Marlene, my wife, has said, this is not like going from Virginia to Florida or something, even though those are different cultures. This is totally different. And so you want to get your mind ready for that if you intend to visit or if you intend to relocate. So we're going to offer free offerings on that kind of a thing. And then we also will have 4 fee offerings that will be coming up. So
and well worth purchase.
Yes, absolutely. So
We will take care of you. Thank you so much, Teasreal. Appreciate that. So cool.
ready.
Y'all ready to jump into the
Yes.
conspiracy? We're here to talk about They Cloned Tyrone. How many of you give us a thumbs up if you saw They Cloned Tyrone on Netflix? It's streaming there now. It's an original movie. While we wait for that, Dad, you want to usher us into the first point? Before he does that, I'm sorry. Sometimes we as a family just love to watch stuff either at home or go to the movies, like in Dar es Salaam or the cinema, back when we were in the States, and then we just deep dive if the movie really struck a chord. It could be a drama, could be Marvel, it could be anything, and that's just something we've always done since we were kids.
Yeah.
We still talk to our brothers back in the States about stuff like that. And if you're hip to They Clone Tyrone, you know a lot of us in the black community, especially, we kind of feel like this is kind of an instant runaway cult classic already. It's just, it's funny, it's action-packed, and it makes you think. And we just wanted to hop on the channel, resume lives again, and just talk to you guys about this movie. And yes, in the title, spoiler warning, we may touch on things throughout every part of the movie. So if you still want to see it, I don't want to tell you to leave, but you might want to come back to this later.
And this is something, Josiah's being humble, so let me just say a couple things here. As a father who's pleased with his family, with his sons, and their actions. So you're having a sneak peek on what we do after we watch a movie. We peel it apart like the layers of an onion. Now, I am probably the weakest member. Our two sons back in the States, they are in the movies, they understand the dynamics, they understand the philosophical deep things that are going on. My wife has watched movies from way back in the day. She's named after Marlene Dietrich, I think. Is that rough? No, they confuse you. No.
No, it's a friend, my father knew someone that had that name, but people think of that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But she likes those old movies, and she knows who's related to who's a cousin to who played in what, what was the box office, and then you got Daniel, who knows his anime. We went to Japan. He's all deep into that, and he went out late at 1 to 2 a.m. in the morning while I was asleep with some other friends, or people we met on the trip, and he was studying it. Yes, interpreting things. In fact, he came up with this. In terms of looking at a deeper philosophical point of view of who cloned, or they cloned Tyrone. Then we get to Josiah, who has a degree from Towson University in media and film and things like that. And not only that, he worked in Hollywood. That's a nebulous statement. What if I said Marvel, Paramount,
Disney, Blackish, Insecure, Obi-Wan Kenobi, for the Star Wars fans, that's right.
So we really didn't say, oh, we need something to do, let's just do a live. What happened was, we were sitting there doing what we always do in a movie, and I was like, well, goodness gracious, maybe we could just, that's another facet of our family that people don't really realize that we're into, and Josiah's looking into ZIF here, the Zanzibar Film Festival kind of a thing, and how it's on the rise in South Africa, and of course you got Nollywood and Nigeria and stuff like that, so that's actually where we have some care, and also the messages that come through, and some of them unknowingly biblical.
Oh, sure. You can always see that. So we're just big old nerds, really. So, a quick, not to tell y'all to leave. If you don't care about spoilers, hang out, engage with us, and then come back and comment on this video after you've seen the movie. Some of y'all don't care about spoilers. But before Dad dives in, if a brief recap of it, Clone Tyrone is just simply a trio of like misfits in some fictional, predominantly black neighborhood, somewhere in the hood, in the trap. 3 friends, I guess childhood friends, stumble upon a conspiracy that might threaten the lives of good, everyday, regular black folk. And there's all types of sci-fi intrigue, experiments, blaxploitation influences, and it's hilarious. So that's the overall like synopsis of They Clone Tyrone, if you didn't know. So without further ado, go ahead, Pop.
I actually stole this from Daniel. He said that this morning we were just chatting, he said, having a family meeting. People will look at this movie in a literal sense, but actually what we want to do is give our observations from a deeper point of view and consider the philosophical lessons that you can take away. And that's kind of how we generally look at movies. What is it about life that is being said here, and what can we learn? Or what is accidentally being revealed at times by the kingdom of darkness as to what's coming up. So the movie actually contains some low-hanging fruit, and some of the stuff is that first of all, people can become a pawn of the kingdom of darkness and not realize that that's happening. And that was one of the things that I think popped up early on in the movie, because it was a shock to Tyrone that he's getting shot and killed. Well, actually, that wasn't Tyrone. I'm sorry, that was the
Fontaine.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
Fontaine, yeah.
John
The
Boyega's main character.
prognostic. How do you say that word?
Protagonist.
Protagonist,
yeah.
So he's getting shot, and Fontaine, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's gone
Yeah.
multiple times.
Right.
Yeah.
It was one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best versions of Groundhog Day that I had
Yes.
seen, the reoccurring event, without wearing me out.
Sure.
But what I took away from that is that you can become a pawn of the kingdom of darkness. If you're not pressing into the light constantly, you automatically can become an enemy to yourself or to your own people.
Yeah.
You've got to be pressing in constantly. And therefore, the kingdom of darkness viewed him as sometimes people view pawns. I'm not saying pawns are this way on a chessboard. Disposable.
Disposable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's the some of what that looks like. He's talking about the pawn being a pawn of the kingdom of darkness, is that repetition, that automation. You know, like sometimes I make the joke, people are on autopilot when they're walking on their phones. It's like you're not even realizing that you're doing it, and definitely what his name's Fontaine.
Yeah.
Fontaine,
Mhm.
he fell into that. It's easy to see that when he's speaking to his mother through the door, when he's, I've got food, and then warming up food, do you want anything? And she says the same thing, or like the same three things she always says, and it doesn't happen. He doesn't break that cycle till later in the movie. When he's like, man, you always say the same thing, after he's figured out he's been cloned, and he's like, I didn't want to see my mom. He breaks through, and she's not even there. But it's that repetition, because we create all the time. I think Dad and Josiah, they have like a shirt that says artist, or like creator, or filmmaker, all these things, maker, creator, writing, all that stuff. That's what we do as man, as human beings, and it comes naturally. And so when we fall out of that creativity, we become stagnant, almost like water that doesn't move. Water that doesn't move, it becomes stagnant. It almost like, what is it? The things within the water, it's like it dies.
Right.
They begin to die.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And autopilot can show up, like you said, with Fontaine just knocking on the door. You okay, Ma? You need anything? Let me get you some. To me wearing dark suits, white shirts, power ties, going the same metro stop, going to the same desk. It becomes monotonous and routine, and then you don't realize you're not even working on your own dream. You're working on somebody else's dream, and you prostituted, you pimped out your gifts, and you're, as you say, I'm overusing it, on autopilot, but you're not in creator mode, which is sad, because if you're a child of God, He's the creator, if you're of the Most High, and so you ought to be a chip off the old block creating. So that's something there. What about the thugs and stuff like that?
Yeah, it seemed like the thugs in there, Fontaine, I'm trying to remember the story as we've gone through. Fontaine, he is like, seems like everybody kind of, y'all kind of know who you are. You always have in these areas, you have a thug in one area that's kind of above everybody. He's got people below him. And then in another area, east side, west side, whichever. And so it's like Fontaine is kind of doing his thing, and he's seeing things going on, but he's just still, like you say, routinely, it's the same routine, doing whatever he does. And then you have these thugs on the other side that are coming through, trying to like change up, what he's doing, like, the hierarchy kind of thing. But it's almost like he kind of keeps the order, in reference to things that are going on. But then when they're coming through and trying to find out what's going on, it's like something's not right here. It's like, we're trying to do what we're trying to do, but then something's kind of messing up. And that's when they're coming in trying to figure out what is happening, the next step here. So the thugs, they're all over, and just trying to see kind of how they fit into this, you know.
Yeah, thinking about the thugs or the gangs within the movie, it kind of made me think of maybe challenges we have in life, like the constant challenge, which is within the pawn, you know, within, Dad was talking about the chessboard, it's like on the chessboard. Those annoyances that we have to deal with, and for me, it kind of made me think of towards the end of the movie when he's when they're sketching out the what is it, the idea to go and save their friend,
laying the plan.
He has to go and like conquer this thing in his mind, this challenge that we all have, which is these gangs of thugs, what everybody knows. The guys who shot him up earlier. Now he's got to go
and work with them.
And work with them.
Yeah, he's got to work with them. It's a distraction. It's like we are truly in life. We're not playing checkers. We're playing against the principalities, powers, rulers of darkness of the air, and they're playing chess. And they're not playing chess, one-dimensional chess, where you just have one flat surface. They're playing multi-level chess with a third level up there, like on Star Trek, where you have not only horizontal but vertical moves as well. And so we've really got to, a good video might be to listen to Josiah's video that he's got out there, that you talked about the chess and focusing on it and being aware of what's going on in your life. I can't even think of the name of the video.
I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, it'll come to us in due
We'll
time.
put it in the comments for you.
But anyway, it was a distraction to be having turf wars, is what it really was.
And they kind of they broke through when he started to think, and then the gang leader started to think. That's when they broke the thinking, the creativity, the no longer being a pawn. And he's like, man, shoot, you know, I shot him for free last time, 30,000. That's where the humor comes back in. But that's that breakthrough in which we see parallel in real life. Instead of us working against each other, we work together. Because that's what the kingdom of darkness want. They want us all to be against each other. Yeah.
Quick question for Dad goes into the next point. Comment, guys. What's your favorite sci-fi film? We're gonna get into the sci-fi in a minute. What's your favorite sci-fi film? And I'll ask this and ask again later. Do you have a favorite blaxploitation or crime film? Since this movie kind of blends genres, just let us know in the comments. Go ahead, Pop.
Oh, I want to answer your question. My favorite is Cooley High.
Cooley High?
Yes.
That's a crime movie?
No, that's not a crime movie. But it was a crime. Wait a minute, it was a crime what took place. My man, come on now.
Come on, give them a crime.
Yeah.
That's a nostalgia.
But no, it's not a
good-
crime.
that's kinda-
I do like
Cotton Comes to Harlem?
yeah.
You'd seen, I'm
Yes.
new to that, and some of y'all won't be surprised. You'll be like, what do you know about that? But Dad,
That's way
I watched it on Criterion Channel, but you
70s,
enjoyed that, right? Cotton
Yes,
Comes to Harlem?
yes. And across 110th Street.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Okay.
It's a great theme song that goes with that too, as a matter of fact.
G-Shaft.
Mama in the same
I
boat.
didn't
Ain't
see
seen
that.
this, ain't seen this.
I didn't see that
Some
either,
things we
but
all
yeah.
look up, okay? But anyway, so I
What
guess
else we
next
got?
point here, shout out to Matthew, who he likes the artist, what is Donald Glover's? Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Childish Gambino had this song, This Is America. I can't really speak to it. Maybe y'all could speak to it. I mean, I've seen it, I know it. But what was the point of that song? Because that reflects what happens to us in society.
There are a lot of things that it can reflect. Okay, what stood out to me was, I guess, the like constant pushing forward. Like he's singing the song, he's got the kids in there, and then like, well, the beginning of the song, someone gets shot, like straight up. I think he's playing the guitar, and then like the thing's put over his head, and then he's shot, and then he sings "This Is America." He sings the whole thing, the skit, then the kids show up, they're dancing, they're singing, they're singing. Then it's like it's almost like he gets tired. It's like he realizes something, and then someone throws an AK in his hand, he turns around and just shoots him up. I think that's the choir singing at that point. So the point I'm trying to make is it's like this numbness
Yes.
to like
A tragedy goes on,
yeah,
and we go into having T-shirts, posters.
Mhm.
Somebody stands at the courthouse, and then it's back to normal, and we start singing again. You laid it out.
This is
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of
This
makes
is
you
America,
think
yeah.
about like 9/11, I guess, a very tragic thing that happened, but was
Oh,
the
yeah.
president at the time was like, go out there and like buy and
Christmas season's
shop.
coming up.
And it was like, it's like the same week. Could you maybe say that a month from now?
Yeah.
It's that, oh, this is America. Like you just get in tune, like it immediately hits you when something crazy happens and people just push right back to
I always think of it as like, well, it's just business as usual. You just kind of,
yeah.
oh, that happened?
That
Oh, well, let's do
routine.
this over here. That happened? Well, it's, it's like, that's where the numbness and the passivity comes in, so.
Yeah, there's so much desensitization. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yes.
You become desensitized to it. That's what I think of.
Thank you. Yeah. And so because we become desensitized, that's what's going on in the movie, They Clone Tyrone.
Mhm.
There's a desensitizing that's been happening in our communities
Mm-hmm.
across America. And in fact, I'd like to set 911 aside. I want to just think about, we have this ever-growing list of blacks who are being slain, male and female, for whatever reason, and yet we keep trying to think of ways as to what can we do to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Fix what? You're gonna trying to fix something that's eternally broken, basically, to
Yes.
quote somebody else. But there's this numbness that comes upon us, and then based upon that, what you begin to see is, I mean, we're talking a lot about being woke, but
You hear that a lot.
yeah, you hear it a lot,
Mhm.
but are we really awake if these things are happening? And this is our response, our reaction.
Mhm.
Yeah, that word woke has kind of been taken over by the media
Mhm.
and people with power and privilege. You know who you are. To kind of change the word and what it means. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think the narrative has been pirated, and it has become something other than what it truly is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are not fully awakened, which is interesting because in terms of the Most High, he's got a people that are going to be awakened, and he's also going to awaken the Gentiles. And folks say, well, they're talking about a movie, but have you watched the news and what's happening in Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali and what they're deciding to do? There's a waking up that is occurring.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on they don't want you to know about. So,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of enrichment and waking up going on, and that's just in the continent. But a lot's happening for Black folks. So, real quick before you move on, Dad, we got some responses. So, T's Real had a lot to say. Favorite crime movies are New Jack City, Dead
Yeah.
Presidents, and Set It Off. I think
Set it off. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I love
I've
that
only
movie.
seen Set It Off. I've heard of all three of these. I think I always confuse New Jack City with Kings of New York. Is Wesley Snipes in both of those or just one of them? I know Christopher Walken's in one, Lawrence Fishburne's in one, but I always, especially during that time, a lot of the same actors would be in the same type of movie.
I don't remember Wesley Snipes being in Set It Off.
No.
So he didn't say so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're right, he's not.
New
I
Jack.
was trying New Jack versus Kings of New
Yeah.
York. So
Oh, gotcha.
remind
Okay.
us in the comments. I'm sorry if I get things messed up.
Yeah.
And then Blade, speaking of Wesley Snipes, that's their sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
There's also, oh Lord, the Purge. Well, the first Purge and I think another Purge had something to do with not Black history, but just the black community. There's some interesting roots to that story. It might have turned into something else. I don't know. And then I think I only saw one of those, but
I haven't seen the Purge movies.
thanks, T's Real. Thank you,
All right.
Early.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
All right.
thank you,
What
thank
do-
you.
And okay, and then what else were we thinking about? Because we got a lot over here, y'all.
So, one of the things that I recall being shared this morning, I think Daniel, you were talking about this, and that is that there are these hot spots that we have in life. They are literal physical places or part of the culture. And basically, by being able to be a part of those, it protects your mental health. Like for black men, it's going to the barbershop. That's why there's been
Right.
movies called The Barbershop and things like that, as well as the chicken place, whether it's Popeye's, Church's, or
Right.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, whatever. Then, of course, there is the church. And what's interesting, and y'all peel this apart more, is how the movie had those places,
Yes.
all the ones
sure.
I just named, were the places of attack,
Mm-hmm.
where we thought as family that we have a safe place to have mental security. we'll
Mhm.
say.
Yeah, it's like it's interesting when you think of those places because there isn't necessarily anything wrong. You know, it's these places where people come together. You know, whether they're going to church, or they're going to get chicken, whether they're going to the salon. You're just going to get your hair done. You're going to eat. You're going to fellowship. But these places have been infiltrated.
There you go.
There's a
That's
good
key
word,
That's a key word.
infiltrated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Way to pull that out,
So,
yes.
and that's where you get, what do they say, the most amount of people? Because you know, on Sunday, a lot of people, they're at, you know, especially at mega churches, they're at these churches, so, and so then when they cue in on people of color or whatever, then they're gonna be there. Or they have all these things, they say, well, we're fried chicken people, so they're gonna be at the fried chicken places. Or the
Mhm.
salon, people getting their hair done, be it men, be it women. So those are things that kind of filter into those of us of this, you know, this cultural aspect here. So that was
Mhm.
really shown a lot in the movie, so.
Kind of makes me want to really open an eye if I'm in those settings, because you let your guard down when you think you're in a safe place. And things occur. Like, I just want to be careful. Well, I have an opinion. A lot of HBCUs were started by prominent people with privilege and power and privilege. That's who really started a lot of HBCUs. So that's their root. Am I against them? No. Wish I'd have gone to one. But my point is, at some point in time, you have to look at everything around you, because even with the Messiah and the 12, betrayal comes from within.
Right, that's true.
Right.
And that infiltration that, Daniel, you mentioned, and what you were talking about, Marlene, that's from within,
You're right.
where you've let your guard down.
Mhm.
The hot spots. Any more
Mhm.
about that topic, the hot spots and so forth?
Yeah, like the passivity was cool, like down to the salon and the barber shop. Like there's that scene where the one sister's getting her hair done and she's complaining about a lot of like heavy stuff in her life, maybe relationship, maybe job struggles. And right as, you know, the hair tech or whatever is about to, you know, start styling, or right as they start styling, they start massaging her hair with the product. You know, the lady complaining, she's like, oh, well, maybe I'm just tripping. You know, she kind of gets that glazed look in her eye. It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
it's not that bad. Or at the church with there's a cameo from David Allen Greer, and he's like a pastor, kind of got his, what's his name, Frederick Douglass on, and he's just shouting out things that matter to the black community. You know, gun violence, drugs, gang war, on and on and on. And he's just basically reeling those things off and saying, hey, all these things happening to you, don't worry about it. And then we see that Jamie Foxx's character, through his detective work, finds out the communion, the grape drink, and the crackers have been, you know,
Causing them to-
infiltrated. Exactly, causing them to kind of enter into a fog, I guess. And they're infiltrated, and, you know, they catch the spirit, so to speak. And even, you know, Jamie Foxx's character, he's a pimp. You know, Teyana Paris's, you know, she's a prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
John Boyega's a drug dealer, and they're like, look, we ain't been to church in a while, but this don't look right, this don't feel right. And that's a safe haven. Even that was infiltrated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you explain who were in what roles, and tell me again, who was the one of the three, the young lady, and she was a prostitute.
Oh, wasn't she retired? Didn't she say?
Oh yeah,
didn't
she was
keep
the whole
saying-
time.
She's trying to retire.
Oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
trying to get
The
out
whole
the whole
movie,
movie.
yeah.
And she seriously has something she had planned. She was going to go to
Like
school
road
or
trips
something.
and
Mhm.
school and
Yes.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big dreams.
She was trying to
Yeah.
get out.
So I pull connections from weird places, and folks can disagree with me, whatever. But I find it interesting how a lot of Rahab the harlot comes to mind in the Bible.
Oh yeah, Book of Joshua.
Rahab was a harlot, and yet her and her family were the only ones who were saved when they put up that red cord out the
Right.
wall of Jericho.
Right.
What's interesting is how we judge people,
Yes.
and we don't know where their heart is,
Mm-hmm.
just like that character you just laid out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Didn't know her, and she really was going to school, really had hopes and
Right,
dreams
right,
to
right.
move forward,
Mhm.
and was the one who kept pushing them. She didn't want to ever quit.
That's
That's what I
right.
recall.
To investigate.
She
these
never
things.
wanted to quit,
She wanted to find out the truth,
Yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
and that she was even she was devalued by the guy with power and privilege who was in there talking about you're of no value, or I
Yeah,
can just
dime
shoot
a
you.
dozen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, because they clone key players, the enemy, whoever they deem was most valuable. That's who they clone. You know, and so they didn't see Teyana Paris's character as valuable, and they were like, we could kill you right now, and it wouldn't matter at all.
Mhm.
You know, but she saw her own value and saw the value in their community's called the Glen, and she was about to let the Glen go down without a fight.
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah,
So there you go.
I'm sure there's some symbolism in the Glen too. It's just not coming to mind right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll
That
have
was
to look.
their area.
Their area.
Thank you, Arlene, mentioning Superfly, both ones, the old and the
I've
new,
been meaning to check them out. I think they're on Prime.
and
They're on Prime.
and
Just
Black
got a whole
Panther.
bunch I gotta watch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and as a side note, and we thank you all for listening into our live. We think we're talking about movies, but sometimes I get a little confused. Maybe we're really using movies as an excuse, and we didn't realize it, to try to help folks understand what's going on in the world
Mhm.
today. And you can see it through cinema, as a matter of fact. And as you kind of begin to peel back the layers of the onion, you begin to say, oh my gosh, this is stranger than fiction.
Right.
This is real life that's happening here.
Mhm.
The subtle falling asleep. Okay, we mentioned earlier a little bit about this, talking about, Daniel, you mentioned the creativity,
Oh yeah.
and I don't know if you got anything to say about it. There's no creativity in a box, and I guess what we've been describing are boxes that have been put on our people, yet sadly we don't even see them.
Right.
Yeah, it's really in the mind. Or we've been boxed, our creativity has been boxed within our mind, our mental, and that leads to that stagnation, that death, as you will have it. And it's shown, I guess, a lot throughout. Or yeah, it's shown throughout the movie. And the repetition with Jamie Foxx's character, continuing to stay pimping in his motel.
Yeah.
Really, the only character who didn't. Her name keeps escaping. We keep talking about her name. My girl from Monica Rambeau from WandaVision.
Oh yeah, the character's name Yo-Yo.
Yo-Yo.
That's her character's name.
She's the one who's breaking through, and then you have John Boyega's character Fontaine,
Yeah.
who also stayed in that stagnation.
Mhm.
After knowing, I think that's a big key thing, because there are always hints and little things to show you like something is wrong,
Mhm.
something is off. I mean, he was literally shot and killed, and he was wondering. But then the movie goes ahead, and Jamie Foxx's character's like, "They shot you yesterday. What are you doing?" But it's still, it takes a while. It's like he found his answer, and it was confirmed. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you were shot. But then it's like they moved the place, and he was like, it's like he hit a challenge. I'm not gonna call it a wall.
Mhm.
Where they moved the secret hideout with the dude
Yeah, the
who
secret
was
lab. They found the secret lab.
the guy who was downstairs dancing to Michael Jack or
Yeah.
whatever. He was
A white
dancing
guy
to
with
some.
a fro.
Yeah, this dude with the fro, another form of infiltration. You know, he sees the body, the like we were just talking, the lab is moved, and he's
Mhm.
like given up, even though he knows he's a clone.
Right.
And it's like, don't give up, don't not push forward.
Never give up.
And we see that parallel in our creativity and how we live our lives in the real world.
Yeah.
When you said Jamie Foxx's line, "They shot you yesterday."
Yeah.
I think that's yeah.
Folks,
Slip Charles.
I have a very vivid imagination. Stay with me. Okay, what concerns me about our people is, did we get shot yesterday as a people, as black people? Let me give you an example. If I were walking around and there were dinosaurs, I mean, okay, I'm from the Midwest, and there was this thing, and they had it in California outside Hollywood there, with the green dinosaur,
Yeah.
Dino something.
Dino something.
Yeah,
Wax
it's
figure.
Sinclair. That was the name of the gas station, Sinclair.
Hmm.
And so there's this huge. So
Long neck.
imagine that long neck dinosaur.
Yeah.
And let's say I used to go hunting as a kid, and let's say I shot it, and I hit it. They say that it's so big that by the time the nervous system gets the message to the brain, it's like the thing's already dead, but it doesn't know it yet. Did you catch that?
Yes, yes.
It's dead, but it doesn't know it yet.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping and praying that our people, that our family, has not been experiencing so much pain in Western society and by those perpetrated on them with power and privilege by them, that they got shot yesterday, and
Yeah.
they don't even
You don't
realize,
know it yet.
you don't even know it yet. It
Mhm.
hasn't even hit you.
We gotta
Oh my
check our own
goodness.
lives. So again, we ain't trying to come off like we got all the answers, Sway. We're just observing, and these things just like there's a reason. What's his name? Jewel Anderson. Shout out to the director
Right.
of They Clone Tyrone. There's a reason y'all made this movie. There's a reason this stuff
Mm-hmm.
is done all the time. And especially with our community, y'all. Like, let's be real. We love talking about this stuff. That's why it seems like TikTok is like the realest news. Otherwise, it seems like in movies, Secret Invasion and things like that, seems like that's where all the real truth or things worth investigating seems to come from. There's a reason they made this stuff.
Mhm.
All right, next point is they clone Fontaine and others in order to keep order for the masses,
Majority.
and for the masses' mentality, for their mind. And we all see that differently. One of the ways I see that is, it's interesting how if a person of black culture is allowed to make it in the system, the next one needs to look just like them.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And it's like, because they say that is approved now.
Mhm.
And in fact, I remember watching an interview. We got to see him live out in California, free too, at the municipal building. I loved being in California.
Kenny Lattimore?
Kenny Lattimore.
No,
I saw
nice.
him on some show, and he was interviewed, and he was saying that there was somebody else at the time, y'all probably know, who was big.
Mm-hmm.
He said the problem is they only let one through at a time.
Right.
Versus those with power and privilege, you'll have multiple Pat Boones or multiple artists. But for those who are black, it would only be one at a time. You can only have one superstar. And then they want the next one to be similar to what they've approved.
Right.
And to me, that is another angle of cloning.
Yeah.
It's not literal cloning.
Or
Right.
mass cloning.
Right.
It's like saying, okay, we're telling you all how to think, and it keeps the masses
Right.
in order because everybody kind of follows in step like sheep. They follow in lock and step what that individual is doing.
Yeah, it's not always just the Captain Obvious what's in front of you. You know, they clone Tyrone. Like, I get it. Like, the news is now, the government's all like, oh yeah, we're talking about aliens and all this stuff now. And it's like, people are like, see, I knew, and all this different stuff. And maybe they'll see this and they'll be like, oh no, they're cloning people. And it's like, in a sense, okay, but like, don't lose the big picture. What do you call it? The 50,000
Yes.
looking
The 50,000
down.
foot level.
It's like when
the
you
bird's eye
see
view.
Bird's eye, yeah.
the map from a different. You have to look at it from a different angle, like your situation. And that's what I hear you saying. The clone, the sheep. It's not just, oh, there's another Daniel on the other side of this table. It's the suit, the tie, the government cut. Whether you wanted to shave your hair or cut your hair of your own free will, or whether you had to get into that job, and then your brother did, and then your cousin did, and then your friend's friend, and it's just, that's that clone that I hear you talk, that sheep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That made me think of another example of like even with black women in hip hop. I don't know a lot about it. There's always more to discover, but like at the time of this video, Netflix and Queen Latifah like just dropped, I think, a mini series on black women in hip hop called Ladies First, after the song She Did. And I've heard, y'all probably heard this where, you know, I think Cardi B probably said it, Nicki Minaj probably said it. They rarely let, to Dad's point about, you know, it's like one at a time, it's like this bottleneck. For some reason, black women in hip hop came to mind, where it's like you can only have a few black rappers, black female
That's what I
rappers
meant.
at a time. You got, you know, Kendrick and Drake and Kanye, and you got all these brothers at one time. But it's like you had a Lil Kim, you know, before her, you know, MC Light, Queen Latifah, you know. But it's always kind of like little blips, and it's like, wait, why can't all the black female rappers just storm onto the stage at the exact same time?
Yeah.
It's only going to be better for the black community of that creativity and that expression. Why has it got to be a little IV drip? Why can't everybody?
Exactly.
So
Thank you
that,
for that
for
visual.
whatever reason, that came to mind actually.
That's what I was trying to say, but you took it. That's what I'm talking about. And I saw that visual, the little IV drip.
Yeah. That came.
Yeah. Shout out to Erlene, who said, "Can't have you competing with them and winning."
Right.
Yeah, that's basically it. We are being boxed in, shut down, creativity, numb to the dumb on those particular things, and not just in those areas. Daniel kind of mentioned what you teased me about, Marlene, which was when I was in the corporate world and I'm wearing just dark suits, Bostonians, and white shirts and power ties. It's like it took years, I mean, over 20 years for me to say, you know, I'm not going to wear a tie anymore. I mean, I literally had to talk to myself, I'm not going to do this. And that was like a major shift for me. It's so amazing how our natural selves, because I'm thinking about, I didn't always have locks, and neither did you, Daniel, but our natural selves are so offensive.
Yep.
So
You think about our women, our black women, they gotta straighten their hair, they gotta
yes, there
put
it is.
chemicals burn, you gotta iron hot, you gotta,
And it's like, it's not a literal cloning, but it's a type of mental systemic cloning that's happening, so that it keeps the masses in line.
Like for the aesthetic purpose, as opposed to like protective styles or scalp issues and things like, I don't know if y'all ever see, to your point about like black women's hair, sometimes they have those cool videos of like the restoration of some women's scalp. Like that's a separate thing. We're talking about maybe you're fully healthy and things like that, but the pressure is still on our black people, and to your point, black women, if you're going to use that example.
And it's I guess it's that thing where like if you see it enough, it becomes appetizing, or it becomes what did we talk about earlier? Desensitized.
Yes.
And you get back to that sheep, that group mind think, well, everyone else has this look, or this is just what we do now. It's not really what you want. It's just, you know, I see videos nowadays of like our black women, and they're doing the hair and this stuff, and some of them are doing it because it's what they want.
Exactly.
And then, but it's like, I don't always, you know, I'm not them, but I don't know. Are some of them doing it because it's what they want, or are they doing it because it's what everybody else is doing? Because their mama had to do it and their grandmama, but they didn't know that because the system is so locked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be. Oh, I'll say it real quick. My bad, mom. Or like, since you're talking about gangs and things, black exploitations in the movie, there's also like, can Fontaine be emotional, or can Jamie Foxx's character Charles be emotional? And it's like
Mhm.
some of you guys can be really, tough and stuff, but it's like when you were saying about the hair. Are some of you guys just naturally that way, or do you feel pressured to be like, oh, all the power is in being tough and having that armor up?
Mhm.
Are you just naturally that way, or are you pressured to suppress how you really feel?
Yeah, I'm hearing everything all of y'all are saying. It's like, we're the only group of people that have to deal with these things. Other groups of people don't have to do that. It's like, if we wanna wear our hair a certain way, they got all these rules, they gotta have a law, the crown thing, for you to be able to do it. It's like, there's no other group of people that are saying they can't wear their hair, they can't dress this way, they can't sing this thing. It only seems to be at our group of people, and so it's just, because years ago you had an afro, then you couldn't do the afro,
Mhm.
then you go to the straightened hair, now you don't go to straightened hair, now you're trying to go back to the afro. It's like, no matter what you try to do, it's never enough for you to just be you.
Mhm.
Either you're trying to come away from how they've made you be, because you couldn't get a job if your hair was in a bush, so you had, okay, I guess I better straighten it. Now that you say, I want to be able to come out of that and be who I am. It's like a lot of times we all walk around forever not being who we generally are, because we've been, like you say, not really literally cloned, but we've walked in that suit of, okay, I gotta be like this, I gotta be like that. What's accepted,
yeah.
so, yeah,
Who determines what was acceptable?
right.
You preach
Those
it,
with,
mom.
those with
Yeah.
power and privilege determine what
Yeah,
is
what's
acceptable.
acceptable.
The winner of the battle writes the history.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Change it to be the way they want it to be.
That's literally what's happening in the movie. That
Yeah.
faceless group. I don't think the bad guys have a name. Come to think, but it's just they.
Right,
But they're
right.
literally doing that, even down to when they capture the characters and have the monologue and say this is what we're doing. They're the ones that set all the rules.
Also in the movie specifically, they couldn't get their hair right.
Oh, that's true.
Right,
Yeah,
the
they couldn't get
cloning.
that.
Yeah,
That's
because
interesting.
they all had bushes, they couldn't seem
But
to
it didn't
change
look
the
right.
textures when
Couldn't
they
get,
yeah, still bushes,
couldn't
yeah.
get rid of that nappy,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
nap, that
Yeah.
that crinkle.
Hair like a
Force.
lamb's wool. Duh, I
Mhm.
wonder what that's about.
Right.
So, yeah, you were talking about that. We're gonna approach, why did they clone Fontaine? And, whether they were literally cloning or not, we're not really addressing that. What we're kind of looking into here is symbolic cloning,
Mhm.
where the opposite would be you're not your originals. You're not the original
Mhm.
anymore. You're just not the original.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
I mean, it hits different aspects of our lives. You think about our early stages as, like really small children. For the most part, most children, you're fearless. You get older, you may not be so fearless anymore. It's like
Yes.
that was stripped away from you. The
Yes.
happiness. You see a kid,
Curiosity.
they're like, oh, they haven't been weighed down. There's always a phrase I use. I can't remember right now. They don't know the struggles of the real world yet. That will be forced upon them.
Mhm.
That's what I think of when I hear you say like those aspects are being taken out of
Yeah.
us.
I'm with you. I got a question for the folks in the audience. Do any of you feel like, or have ever felt like, you're not original anymore? No, I'm not saying you're a clone. I'm saying that your authenticity was stripped away and you did whatever it took to fit in. And while you're answering that question, I've tried to give examples from my own life when I was talking about how you teased me about all my dark suits and white shirts and maybe a pinstripe and maybe a blue shirt on Tuesdays at IBM. But anyway, that's one episode. In my own family also, I'll never forget my sister working for the state. And one time and she's 10 years older than me, and one time I called and she answered the phone and her voice was totally different. And I was like, Is this my
Who
sister?
this?
Who is this on
Yeah.
the phone?
Who did?
Who did? Yeah, go on and say it.
Yeah,
Who
you
dat?
get to get her
No, who
professional
did?
voice.
And I realized that black women have been very successful. Salute to them. That's why they were able to make it in a professional environment because they are very adaptable to what needed to be done. Whereas I guess we men, we're expected to go out and kill something, drag it home, and provide for the family. There's not much room for being fitting in, assimilating in that sense. But I just wondered if anyone felt that. I'm saying I felt it. I'm saying I felt the need to fit in and all this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to throw that question out there.
You reminded me of something super quick, because we're about to dive into more of that. Another weird conspiracy black movie, Sorry to Bother You, directed by Boots Riley, starring Lakeith.
Oh, I like him.
You know, plays Darius, if you like Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And something else, he was with Issa Rae in The Photograph, romantic drama. But he's in a movie with Tessa Thompson. From
Okay.
Creed
Yes.
and
Yeah.
whatnot.
From Creed. Yes.
And they live in a weird world where you can bend the rules of like how you present as a black person and how much success you can or can't have for that, even down to your voice. Like Lakeith meets with Danny Glover
Mm-hmm.
at this telemarketing job, and you got to get as many hits to get successful.
Mhm.
And Danny Glover is able to talk like a white guy. Now, they just have white people dub over
Uh-huh.
Danny Glover's voice, but he's like, no, you gotta talk, young blood, like you belong here, you know. My name's Todd from, such and such and such, and it's hilarious, and that's just one little anecdotal
Yeah.
piece. You remind me with our auntie of just the assimilation, which is a word used in the movie. I guess we can get into that later, but just how we assimilate and what it took to get successful, and I don't know how much more of that are we gonna take in the world. But Sorry to Bother You. Check that out. It's wild, but it's all black, and there's a lot of great comedy and a lot of interesting stuff in that one. Sorry to Bother You.
Wow.
If you have any more to say about assimilation, we'll throw it out there now.
Well,
If not, it's
there
cool.
is, because we are in spoilers, but there's a progression from a graphic in the movie when Fontaine, John Boyega's character, meets the main guy.
Right.
Y'all can spoil that if you want. Maybe I'll hold that one off. We don't have to spoil everything.
Yeah.
But he's got the confrontation, in the 11th hour, the third act. And there's a progression that you can see plain as day on the screen from a black man getting lighter and lighter and lighter till he's white. Now, he's still got an afro because they can't seem to solve the hair problem. It's a problem in their mind. And that's what the main dude tells Fontaine. He says assimilation's better than destruction. Because
Ooh.
Fontaine's little brother, had been murdered, police brutality, and it hardened him up and things like that. And the question was like, how much more of that can we take? And when's it gonna change, or what do we do to fix it, and that to fix things like that? And that's what the head honcho says. Assimilation. He's black. Assimilation is better than destruction. I don't know what y'all think of that.
I think that is the mantra that is fed through key organizations in the black community, whether it's sororities, fraternities, the Boulay, the Masons, go on and on and on. I saw on Instagram a discussion was getting kind of heated about junior ROTC, as a matter of fact. But my point of mentioning these things is using Daniel's word infiltration to assist toward assimilation under the proposition that assimilation is better than destruction. And I wonder, honestly, I get the scripture incorrect, but I think it's learn not the ways of the heathen. And I say that I used to think that Bible verse had to do with don't do waterboarding at Guantanamo Bay, or don't cheat on your taxes as the heathen do. No. I think it's a little deeper than that. I think it's literally ways that seem appropriate, where you create gatekeepers in real estate, where you copy off everybody and their daddy, of course, needs to go to college used to be everybody needed to go graduate sixth grade, then everybody needed to get a high school diploma, then everybody needed a bachelor's degree, now you need a master's, and now you need a PhD. And now we have more college debt. It's surpassed, I think, credit card debt and other debts in the United States, and no place to go.
Well, you said, Dad said in the past, I don't know, maybe a few years back, you go to college and let's say it costs, what was it, like 200,000? What's the price?
Well, let's do round numbers. Let's
like-
say 50,000 to 100,000.
That's kind of, yeah, maybe a little higher. I'm trying to remember
Yeah,
exactly
but
what
go
you
ahead.
said. Your whole point was that if you can afford to pay for these colleges and these huge sums, why are you going to college?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
somebody to me needs to ask that kind of a question, because to me, you've been cloned. You're not original anymore. You're just doing what you're being led to do.
Because it's like if you go back to the beginning, the whole point of going to school was to learn something and to master it and then to apply that supposedly to a job to get money. And it's like, so if you already, I mean, you had to get that money somehow, you must have had some qualities or a parent or something.
Yes,
Then you already have
what it takes.
what it takes.
I think it requires a shift in mindset. And maybe that's what all of this is about with regard to they clone Tyrone. It's also a mindset shift. And it can be, I'm gonna give you a very simple example. So writing something while at work that might go out to 4,000, 2,000 people in one of the federal agencies I work for, you kind of want that right before you run that up the chain to SES. And what I would do was get out of the chair I was in that I wrote or created the document and just simply go to a different chair. It's as simple as that, and it causes a mind shift. You look at things differently then. And I think there's some simplistic mind shifts that the Black community that we can look into that would help us not just assimilate and fit in and look like everybody else.
Yeah. Mom, I think Miss Erlene made a point. You read that for everybody?
So right here?
Yeah.
Oh, we have a lot of college graduates that can't find a job in the field they were educated in. That is so true. I've been saying, I always feel the major reason if you go to college is if you want to be a doctor or an engineer, you know, a specific specialty. Because there's so many training schools out here, so many ways you can get a certificate that you don't necessarily have to go 4 years, 6 years, 8 years. And so, but I think you say, like we say, the world that we live in, they have pushed that on you so much that they make it seem like that's all you have to do. But then by the time you've done all that, and then you've learned all this book stuff, but you really don't know anything to kind of get you a job. And so that's why we're saying you're in debt or you don't have a job. Everybody's like, okay, I've gone to school all these years, but then I still can't get a job. And then they're working at McDonald's or they're working at some other place, but they have a degree. So that is really, that's mind-blowing.
What comes to mind to me is that they kind of switch up on you. It's like my parents, they went to school, to college, and they got their degrees and they worked in their fields. And it was, I didn't go to college, but I know you, Josiah went to college, and it was challenging for you. You were able to get to points that you wanted to, like in the industry, we talked about you in Marvel or at HBO. You had to connect with people, but it's like, it worked for them, and so...
You don't even need a degree for that, but I'll mention that later. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I don't fall apart here. But it's like, I see the switch up because it's like, Arlene is saying here, it's like they got their degrees, yet they can't find a job. But it worked for our parents or it worked for our grandparents. And so
That's the model, right?
it's like some of them are disconnected or they're retired, and so they're trying to raise you up innocently in this system, not knowing that they done switched up on your kids and it's not going to work for you or for your kids. And then you get this this more this
It's like a rude awakening
Yeah.
type of thing. Like, shout out to you, Sean. He and I study film together, and we would talk about that all the time. Y'all have heard me, the family's heard me say it, but we're like, yeah, the model was, generally speaking, your parents and maybe grandparents, but certainly your parents could go into the university model, because really there was a certain kind of job, maybe stockbrokering, maybe banking, finance, or government, maybe medical. I'm not trying to reel off everything you need a degree for, but just what was popular.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But then industries began to change, maybe more opportunities show up. I can't touch on everything, but it's like the model, like you said, started to not work for us. But it's frustrating because we're like, the older generation told you to do a certain thing, and you're just trying to find the balance. I'm not necessarily trying to put all the blame on everybody that came before, but it's like whoever either wins or is elder still sets a certain kind of precedent that guides the masses.
Yeah, it's that power and privilege. I look at it the same. Mom was talking about, see, you know, we had to have straight hair, then we had froze, then we had and then it looks parallel to me when it comes to the school. It worked for our parents, so they're like, okay, yeah, you go ahead and do, because it worked.
Until it didn't.
Like it didn't with the hair, until it didn't, and that's what happens because they decided all of a sudden, you know, not for everybody, but it's extremely hard, as we see. Yeah, true, it's hard. Erlena's saying here.
Well, let me jump in there. I do want to say there is a difference on the power and privilege thing. When I'm saying power and privilege, I'm talking about those who run systems. For instance, it is impossible for a black person to be racist because racism is systemic, based on systems. The systems of judicial. Nobody black runs the judicial system. You might have a couple of black Supreme Court justices, but they do not run the justice system of the United States. Black people do not run the entertainment system. Black people do not run the academic system. So therefore, it's only the people who run those and the other systems, financial and etc., political, are the ones with power and privilege. In your example with regards to the parents, and I've fallen guilty of this, prey to this also, and that is what happens, and I'm going to throw a Bible verse at you all, and that's out of Luke chapter 16, verse 8 and 9. And it is basically, and the Lord commended the unjust steward. So in context, there was a person who was managing monies and really messed up, and they were being called on the carpet and being held accountable for that. So they were going to be in trouble, but they made some nifty shifts and reduced some people's tabs and kept them as customers, so to speak, to the master. So because he had done wisely in what I just described in reducing some tabs, so the Lord commended this dude. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. And this is why we have to press in constantly, because otherwise we go on what you described earlier, autopilot. Autopilot was only black people could become landscaping, lawn, that's all. I had an opportunity in IT, so I had difficulty in getting my parents understand, no, I'm not gonna be a what is it called, a lawn man, a handyman. I'm gonna go this IT route. What I'm saying is, and then I tried to push you guys away. I probably should not have pushed you and your brothers, and finally maybe woke up and backed off of it. The key part is in your generation. In other words, the reason why the degree system is a little bit shaky, unless you're, as your Marlene said, a lawyer or doctor or something like that, is because things are moving so quickly. At the end of 4 years, your target the goalpost has moved. And people naturally change careers. When I got certified as a career counselor, people were changing careers 2 to 3 times 15 years ago. Can you imagine the changes people are doing now?
Yeah.
That's just people initiated. Now I'm talking about the world shifting. There is no longer a job where you shovel coal on a locomotive. It doesn't exist anymore. So what I'm saying is what happened was the goalposts were moved. And so by the time you start a 4-year degree, in your sophomore year, if you're committing to a particular degree, you still got 3 more years to go. That position has evolved and changed. Look at people who want to be writers in Hollywood, and now they're battling on strike because of
Right.
AI, and actors are saying, oh my gosh, you're going to take my image and just use it over and clone it and
Right.
use it over and over again.
Yeah.
So my point is,
Mm-hmm.
we need to, I think, collectively as a community, press into him daily so that we will not say, oh yeah, in the great by and by, I'm going to get my reward. No, you've got to be sharp now and today in this generation. So in you guys' generation, that's different than my generation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have we have to be somewhat like the children of the world. And in your generation, they're looking for the payback now.
Right.
And so we need
There's
to
wisdom
look for
in
the payback now versus playing it safe. And I think that's at the heart of a lot of us acquiescing to clonism or looking like each other because we're looking for safety and security instead of being original.
That's true. And you remind me of like the mandate. I'm reminded in Genesis, about being fruitful, multiplying, all that authority and power and creativity given to Adam and Eve to just be the best in their field of potential, as someone we follow likes to say, to be the best in their field. He wasn't trying to get them out of there anytime soon or anything. He really was invested in their investment in animals, in land, in agriculture, and things of. He was invested in them being around for a while. And when one begins to tap into their potential, we've all done it in different ways. Don't you hope that it'll last as long as possible? You're not trying to jet out of anywhere.
Exactly.
Yes.
That can
Yes,
be
you're doing it for the long term. Hey, I kind of slipped into this business of the Hollywood actors and the strike out there with the writers. And
pay them.
you guys listed out these things where it's not a physical cloning, but there's this thing that's going on. There's the Zoom warnings that are coming out now. People are saying don't participate in Zoom meetings, so y'all gonna have to break these down and touch on them. There's the Hollywood actors and the writers strike. There's the fear of AI, artificial intelligence. There's the Facebook thing where they said be careful, they can snatch your image. You no longer control your image and what put you in your box, so to speak. So, and then there was my sister-in-law, your sister, talking about updating us yesterday about chicken and meat and so forth.
It's not real. It's something fabricated or whatever. She was telling me just raw chicken. She said you can just raw chicken. You can just pull it apart. And so it's
That's
a
not
lot
how
of.
it works.
They've been doing this for years, but every so often more. It's upgrade. Your food is just not what it is. It's not real.
Not what it's supposed to be.
Oh, and before you guys, I do want you guys to touch on those things that I just shared. Also yesterday, your mother, you weren't with me. So I met a young lady from Tanzania, from Dodoma, the capital, and she was over here for business and talking with our friends. Shout out to Troy and Lucina and Lyle. But the deal is, she was talking to us about, I was in the United States. She's been to New York, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., maybe a few other places. She said, I had some grapes and there was no seeds. And she's like, she's very animated, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Very animated. There's something wrong here. There's no seeds in the grapes.
She was hip.
And other fruit.
Right.
And it's like, you confessed to me earlier. Go ahead, tell me about the blueberries.
As long as I've ever had blueberries, they have not had seeds in them. And so when we moved here, we were in Kigali, and I got blueberries, and they had seeds. That was new to me. I'd never,
Of course.
never had that. So
It's funny you bring this up because I remember growing up homeschooling, we had friends, and one of our friends, their mother, she would actually have grapes, and she would always get the ones with seeds in them because she said the Most High made it that way. It's supposed to have seeds in them. I mean, you eat an apple, it's got seeds in it, right?
Cherries.
So that's immediately what came
yeah.
to mind.
So they're
Like,
cloning the food.
Mhm.
All right, so now y'all talk about the thing with the writer's strike in Hollywood, the AI, the Facebook, the Zoom.
So the Zoom, I can touch on that. You can touch
And
on
take it away.
thing. So basically, what's going on with Zoom is that I'm trying to get this.
And we
up
was
here.
all up in Zoom, right? When we was all on punishment.
That's right.
And we had to
Last
do
couple years now.
meetings and all types of stuff. I was doing my podcast. People were conducting meetings and auditions and stuff. And now everyone's getting desperate.
It's a long strip here, but basically the terms of service
Right.
changed
There's an update.
for Zoom, and they are trying to get you to grant access to your likeness, what you say while you're using the application, the product, or whatever like that. You know, they got you on camera. They latching on you like a leech, basically, like a symbiote. And it's like they trying to
Venom.
get everything that you have. And so people are like, stay off Zoom, don't use it no more. I deleted Zoom. I never really liked Zoom, to be quite honest with you. I think I need to check your devices for Zoom.
Yes,
but
please do.
yeah.
But the point is, they don't need your DNA. They're cloning you already. Josiah, what about the writer's strike in Hollywood and actors?
Yeah, the AI even plays into that, but like as of this video, I think it's been 105 days of the Hollywood writer's strike, and I think it's been maybe a month since the Actors Guild of America and Screen Actors Guild of America, Actors of Hollywood joined them, and apparently it's like the biggest strike in Hollywood history and U.S. history of that nature. And the two biggest things, as I recall, because a lot of information was going out, there's a lot of misinformation. If you're into movies, listen up to this. But basically, because of things like streaming and AI, those are causing obstacles to writers and now actors, including background actors, all the people that fill the scenes in espionage movies, in bar scenes, whatever, regular people. Those things are causing obstacles for people to get paid. With network TV, I can generally say apparently it was easier for screenwriters who write Seinfeld, who write Girlfriends, One-on-One, Moesha, all of that. It was easier for them to get paid in royalties when these shows went into syndication, and maybe a show was on UPN, then it showed up on, I don't know, TBS or Disney Channel or something like that, in reruns. So writers would get checks for that. And actors, as I understand it, could get kinds of royalty checks as well. All this information's on YouTube. But to the point of AI, they're really trying to experiment with scanning actors so that they only have to pay the actor, be it a lead actor, be it especially a background actor, because there's more background. You know, in a sci-fi film, you only need one Brad Pitt, but you need a lot of people to fill the scene. And so AI could pose a major problem because all they got to do is scan any given actor and then pay them the one time, probably peanuts, especially if you're a background actor. And then you likely can't work again because the idea seems to be maybe another Studio A owns your likeness now, which means Studio B either can't use it because it's now illegal or they don't want to pay to use it. Studio A might say, well, you can use their likeness, but you got to pay this. And Studio B might be like, the heck with that. AI can also affect screenwriters because why pay human beings to write, you know, another season of Insecure or Abbott Elementary or whatever, when you can get computers to do it, because these executives, the model is meant to benefit them, not to benefit artists. And so the business part has kind of overshadowed the show part of show business, because you need the artists to act, you need them to make music. It sounds like even the musical side of Hollywood, even they're thinking of striking. Songwriters and musicians are now thinking of doing that as well. If things like artificial intelligence and things like that and other nefarious things can stop you from getting paid, everyone's thinking of going on strike because it starts with the people. But again, to the point of AI and what was the other one? It was AI and just the other obstacles, basically. That's why those guys are on strike right now. Every person in Hollywood, every actor, every writer is not rich. I think the older guy, I don't know if I'm going to quote it right, on Abbott Elementary, the hilarious custodian.
Janitor,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Love
he's
him.
been in show business, Mr. Johnson, maybe 30 years. He's online. You can Google this. He held up a check, and I think he might have, in 30 years of show business, might have gotten less than $100 in royalties or residuals
Three-
for 30
so-
years.
3 decades.
And so here's another example that Josiah's not going to tell you, but I will. And that is, Josiah got blessed by the Most High to work on set of Insecure, Issa Rae's show. So there's this woman, he'll have to tell you her name because these people know names, I don't.
Amanda Seals.
She literally had on her YouTube channel, and
Yeah.
I was watching this by myself. They didn't give this to me, and I'm looking at her talk about the writer's strike and explain how it affects actors also. And she showed her residual checks. She had 15 checks that she went through and told you the amount, held it up. The biggest check I think was only $99,
Yeah.
and she's one of the big four.
Yeah, she was one of the leads.
She
on
was
that
one of
show.
the leads on it. Now, I want to say we're not advocating for Hollywood and showbiz. We've not done a good job of communicating if you think that's what we're doing. No, what we're doing is we're saying, wake up. We're saying the title of the movie is They Clone Tyrone. Tyrone is not Fontaine. By the time they get to Tyrone in California, wherever he was, I think,
Yeah.
he was already cloned. We're
Yeah.
saying to the black community, you've already been cloned. You're like the dinosaur in my unusual example. If I had shot one with a 22, it's so big and so old and so used to the worn down path, by the time the synapses of its nervous system communicate to the brain, you've been shot, it's already dead but doesn't know it. We're saying to the black community, please realize you've already been cloned, or they're setting up things in systems to get ready for you, because the next thing you were saying that's coming is the virtual reality. When you don't have TV shows, they're not trying to think of what they're going to do next. They already know virtual reality is the thing, and then they got you in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Then they've got you.
Because we'll go back to that comfortability. Is that a word?
It is now.
Yeah, all words are made up. Because we'll go back to that. It's like you can't afford the VR, but you couldn't afford the Jordans either. You'll put it on the credit, you'll
Yes.
on the credit card, you'll buy that. The VR machine will scan your face, and you're entertained. So or we are
gotta be
entertained to the black
entertained
community.
somehow. And these things always affect us the worst, be it the Hollywood strike or UPS is going to go on strike or whatever. Black people, obviously we got careers everywhere. We're trying to put food on the table, but it always affects the black writers, the black actors, the black workers. It always hits us first, or whoever's in the minority. So that's why that's why we have to be as cognizant as we can of these things. And
All right, so last point.
all right,
You mentioned some game. I don't know nothing about it. De nada. Near Replicant.
Oh yeah, I played this game a couple of years back called Near Replicant. That doesn't fully matter as much, but what matters is this line that was said. To give some context, within the game there's this city called Facade, I think, and in this city there's rules for everything, like everything. Like I think shop owners are only allowed to sell at like an elevated level. Like you can't sell on the ground floor, if that makes sense. Like it's weird. Like I don't. Anyway, one of the characters said that the main character was asking like about all these rules and how people live like this, and the character next to him said, rules do not exist to bind you, they exist so that you may know your freedoms. And I think it's interesting. I think it's just an interesting thing to think about, that sentence, that they exist so that you may know your freedoms. because we typically look at, or the world will look at the Bible. They'll look at certain things about a bunch of rules and this, that, and the third, and how it might be too difficult or whatever they put onto it. Versus in the world system, all of the rules and stuff that you have to put on constantly and put on constantly. You know, I gotta put on my gray suit tomorrow. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Versus the Most High's rules and where there's freedom. So that's
Nice.
kind of what I was thinking about.
That is nice. If we would make that shift, that mind shift, that mindset shift that was mentioned earlier, to realize, hey, this stuff is binding me. I am not able to be original, able to be authentic anymore. And that's the way I was made. My father's a creator. I'm supposed to be a chip off the old block. I should be creating. I shouldn't be working on someone else's dream. I should be working on my own dream. The way I saw what you described is, if you're in Washington, D.C. or the DMV and you're on 495, there are lines on the lanes to separate the lanes, and they help you to go 55, 65 miles an hour. You take those lines away and you have a demolition derby, and everyone's getting destroyed and so forth. So what we have to be careful of is a society where we accept the ways of the heathen, the ways of our oppressor, and he told us, learn not their ways. We don't want those ways. So we want to be able to operate originally and freely. Well, we've gone through this thing talking about they cloned Tyrone.
They cloned him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our point of view was not to just sit here and tell you this happened in scene 1, and this happened at 3 minutes and 50 seconds in the movie. No, we weren't going to do that. We were trying to lay it down and show you how it is actually happening now. I'm going to wear this example out. I don't care. In the movie Hitch, there is a scene where Will Smith's character is in college, I think.
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
he is hooked up. His girlfriend is named Cressida. And
Cressida?
yes, Cressida, like Toyota Cressida. And he's out in the rain. He's coming to this car. It happens to be a Volkswagen. But anyway, she's kissing this dude, this other guy. And he's in the rain, and Will Smith's character is knocking on the window, and he's like, Cressida, what's wrong? What am I doing? What caused this? Or something like that. And she doesn't answer, but the guy she's kissing says to Hitch, you're doing it now. That has wrung and shaken me to the core, because I find that both good and bad, many times you're already doing it. And so when it comes to this cloning thing, I would say that they're doing it now. Not they're going to start. It just didn't look like what you thought it was going to look like. You just simply remember that sheep back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot the name of that thing. It had a short name, and they had cloned this sheep. And
Oh yeah.
No, they're still in your image. Oh, or how about the movie Black Bottom Rainy Black Bottom?
Oh, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Yeah, that. Anyway, she didn't want to be recorded.
That's right.
Oh yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, she did. Excuse me. She did not want to be recorded.
Drink some water.
Check
Yeah,
that out. That's on Netflix too. Starring Viola
And
Davis.
what happened was, because she felt once they recorded her on an album, they didn't need her anymore. They have cloned her.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, or we are saying, watch out in your lives. You can take a lot away from this. Take a lot away from this movie that can help you to break free, to pull out of the matrix.
Yeah, something that comes to mind to me, you said they're not planning to do it, they've already done it. to me, it feels like almost the stock market. I don't have a lot of experience in investing in stock market. I have a little experience. But it's like by the time everybody finds out, or by the time everybody found out Bitcoin was great, it was too late. That's usually how this stuff works when it comes to the AI and all this clone and stuff. It's like when you saw it 30 years ago in the movie where the government guy scanned his eyes and the thing opened, they were already doing that decades before they showed it in the movie. So it's almost like the stock market.
Yeah,
Nice example.
that's a good example, Daniel. Yeah. You have anything you want to?
No, I guess only thing I was gonna say, if you have not seen They Clone Tyrone, it's on Netflix, right?
Yep.
Just came out, just about a month ago.
I
So
think maybe,
It's early on, so, and then you'll be able to look at it yourself, and maybe some of the things we've said will resonate, or you'll see some new things yourself, so,
Yeah, take a look at it. Get back to us. Leave a comment
yeah.
if when you watch it. Let us know your thoughts here in the video.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do we have any closing remarks, Dad, in the live chat? Anything you want to highlight before we go?
There has been a couple
Thanks,
messages.
Arlene. She said that the name of that sheep was Dolly,
Yeah.
born
That's
in
what it was.
1996.
That's right, Dolly.
And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Hey, James D. Hi there. And yeah, I think we've exhausted this
Yeah.
topic. And, thank you, everyone, for staying with us.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
Thanks.
if you just jumped on, feel free to watch the replay. In a few minutes, we were just talking about things that jumped out to us from They Clone Tyrone. Thank you for all your comments about your favorite crime movies, your favorite sci-fi movies. Thanks for joking and hanging with us. Again, if you're interested in one-on-one consultations about living abroad and living in Africa, you can email us at awakenwithmark@gmail.com. All that information is in the description below. Feel free to like and share this video with anybody that you think would like it. Anything
Yeah,
for you?
and be on the lookout. We are working on videos. We're editing them like as we speak. Well, no, but this is a live. So it's not, sorry, this isn't pre-recorded. But we are editing videos. We started today. We got things planned for the tourist video.
Yeah.
Josiah mentioned one of the places being Stone Town. I won't talk about any others. Things are in motion. Next week we're gonna be plotting to record some new stuff. So it's like we are working on stuff. We have multiple things in the pipeline. So keep your eyes open, your ears up. Hitting that notification bell
Yes.
will tell you immediately when we upload. YouTube can be kind of finicky about that. So that's why we say to hit the notification bell.
Yes. Awesome. Well, cool.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
All right.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right.
Peace out.
See ya.